Welcome to Sketching with Gretchen. Today we're going to make some marbled paper. So what you're going to need for this project is some paper, and I would cut it into smaller pieces. You could cut a regular piece of paper in half. You're going to need a can of shaving cream, and just the regular kind of shaving cream, not the gel kind. You're also going to need a cookie sheet. This is going to protect your work surface. You're going to need a ruler or some kind of scraper. You could also use some kind of expired or used up gift card. And you're going to need some food coloring. You're also going to need some kind of tool, such as the end of a paintbrush, or if you have a skewer or a craft stick, you can use those as well. And this is what we're going to use to make some designs in our marbling. So I'm going to move all these out of the way so our workspace is clear. I'm going to put my paper up here so it's ready to go. I have a couple pieces ready. You might want to do this in your kitchen, or if you're close to a sink somewhere, it's a lot easier to manage cleanup. I would recommend you ask permission from a parent before doing this project because it can get a little messy. But it's a clean kind of messy because we're using shaving cream. Okay, so start out by giving your can of shaving cream a good shake. So you're gonna start by just spraying the shaving cream and a thin layer on your tray. Okay, then you can take your scraper. Your ruler can do this too, but my scraper's a little smaller, so you can take your scraper. You could even take a dull knife, like a table knife, and you're going to spread this around till you have a surface that will be about the size of your paper. So I'm just going to spread this out. Okay, once you have a nice thin layer, and now you're going to take your colors. You can use food coloring. You can use liquid watercolors if you have liquid watercolors. You could take watercolors from your well. If you put some drops of water, you could really use this as well. I have not tried it, but I know this would work as well. You just have to drop it on with a paintbrush. But the food coloring works best, I feel like. Okay, so take your colors and just put drops in different areas. So you want to keep in mind the colors and how they land on the color wheel. If they're next to each other on the color wheel, then they're going to mix really well. If they're across from each other on the color wheel, orange and blue, they do not mix well. They end up turning to mud. So next to each other on the color wheel, they mix well. Across from each other on the color wheel, not so much. So I'm going to try to remember that. Now orange and blue don't mix, and I put some orange over here, but if you're careful and you don't mix too much, then it's not a problem. But you will see it turning as soon as we start mixing it up. I'll add a little green next to my blues. Okay, so you don't need to add a whole lot at this point because your mixing is going to be what spreads it out. So now you're going to take the end of your paintbrush, some kind of stick, and you're going to just start swirling. And as you swirl, you're going to see the colors are going to spread. And I want you to pay attention. You can actually make it look like flowers, or you can just make it colorful. No rhyme or reason to how you do it, but kind of pay attention. Don't be random with it. Just kind of watch what it's doing as you're mixing. And when you're happy with what you have, oh, that made a really cool design. When you're happy with what you have, then you can stop. Now, if you mix too much, you could end up with something that looks like mud or greenish muddy color. So it is possible to mix too much. All right, that's really cool. Look at this. I'm gonna put this kind of close to the camera so you can see it. Let me put it up against the paper. Hopefully it's in focus. Can you see all those swirls in there? Wouldn't that be cool if you could leave it on there like an eraser? You can't, but I just think that's really cool. All right, so set that aside. Now you're gonna take your papers and you're gonna lay them down carefully on the shaving cream and just give them a little press, and you'll start seeing, if you have a thicker paper, you may not see it, but if you have this is just regular drawing paper. Smooth it all out, just kind of give it a little press. You don't have to press down really hard. You just want to make sure the paper makes contact with the shaving cream. Now I'm going to do this side. I'm going to do 2 at a time here. And then from this point, we're going to be peeling it off. Now when we peel it off, we're going to have to scrape off the shaving cream that's on it. So you may want to have a separate area to do that, or maybe another cookie sheet to do that. The food coloring will stain, so you just want to be very careful about that. It will stain your clothes and it will stain your hands, and it can stain tabletops. Okay, so there's my first one, and it has a shaving cream on it still, so I'm going to take that off with my ruler. Just gonna, or if you have a squeegee, those work really well if you have a shower squeegee. So scrape off the shaving cream, just like that. And there's my first marbled paper. And now I'll peel my other one up. I don't know if you can see that. Let me turn it around here. There we go. Okay. And there's my second one. Wonderful. They're beautiful. These are just really cool. And I can let that dry. Now these will dry. There may be a little bit of shaving cream residue on it, but it won't hurt anything. You just want to make sure you get most of it off and set it on something to dry so the colors don't bleed onto anything. But now what you can do with these once they're dry is if you fold it in half, like so, you can turn them into note cards. And then you can, in the inside, you can write wonderful notes. Now, since it does bleed through, you could glue this to another sheet of paper. You could glue it to a piece of colored paper. Once it's dry, you could glue this to one side, the whole sheet, and then fold it in half, and you could have a very creative, beautiful note card. You could cut this in half and make 2 out of that. You could cut your paper to fit inside or on the back side, glue them together. So these would make nice note cards. With Mother's Day coming up, I know that all the moms out there would love a heartfelt note. If you don't have a present for your mom, this is a wonderful way to show her you love her. Write her a kind note. Tell her that you're thinking about her. I really like how this one turned out too. It has a little space down here. Didn't mean to leave it a space, but it's kind of the way it turned out. So here I could put something like Happy Mother's Day, or I could write Mom going down. Just all kinds of opportunities for this. So give it a try. Ask permission first. Shaving cream, I know you can get the shaving cream at the dollar store if mom or dad are going out. Food coloring you can get from grocery store. So have fun with it, and make sure you give your mom a hug or a kiss on Sunday. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.